Here's something that's going to bother you once you know it. There's a single part in your car right now, costs less than a fast food meal, takes about 5 minutes to swap out yourself, and the moment you do it, your AC goes from blowing lukewarm disappointment at your face to actually making you cold again. No refrigerant, no shop visit, no $150 diagnostic fee. Just one overlooked piece of the puzzle that almost nobody changes on the right schedule. And the reason nobody changes it is simple. Nobody ever told them what it was actually doing. Why your AC feels weaker every year. Here's the thing about your car's air conditioning that the industry doesn't exactly go out of its way to explain. It doesn't just randomly break one day. It doesn't dramatically seize up on a Tuesday with a loud bang and a cloud of smoke, so at least you know what happened. It gets worse slowly, quietly, so quietly that most people don't even clock it until one August afternoon, they're sitting at a red light, sweating through their shirt, holding their hand up to the vent, and thinking, wait, was this always this bad? Wasn't this thing actually cold last summer? And the answer is yes, it was. Something changed, and it wasn't the refrigerant, it wasn't the compressor, it wasn't some mysterious internal failure that requires a specialist, 3 weeks of waiting, and a repair bill that makes you briefly consider just buying a fan and accepting your fate. What changed is that your system got choked. Slowly, invisibly, over months and miles, it got choked. And here's the thing about a choked AC system that nobody bothers to explain. It doesn't matter how cold the refrigerant is running. It doesn't matter if the compressor is spinning perfectly. It doesn't matter if every single mechanical component in that system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. If the airflow is restricted, you are sitting in a warm car, full stop. You cannot cool a cabin without moving air through it, the same way you cannot cool a room by setting an ice cube on the floor and hoping for the best. The AC in your car isn't just a cooling device. It's a cooling device attached to an airflow system. Both halves have to work. And right now, in a huge number of cars on the road today, the airflow half is barely functioning, and the driver has absolutely no idea. What's causing it is a filter. One small, flat, rectangular filter tucked out of sight behind your glove box or under your dash. Its job is to clean the air before it reaches your vents, catching dust, pollen, exhaust particles, and whatever else is floating around out there. It does that job faithfully, every mile, every day. And because it's catching all of that, it fills up. And a filter that's full cannot pass air. Simple as that. Right now, in most cars on the road, that filter hasn't been touched in years, not because people are careless, because nobody told them it was there. Nobody told them it needed changing. And there is no warning light, no alert, no reminder of any kind when it's due. Your car just quietly suffocates itself while you sit there convinced something expensive must be wrong. It isn't expensive. It isn't complicated. And I'm about to show you exactly what to do about it. The cabin air filter, the hidden choke point. Let me tell you what this part actually does, because once you understand it, you'll never ignore it again. Your car's ventilation system, the same system your AC runs through, pulls air in from outside the car. That air passes through a filter before it ever reaches your vents. The job of that filter is to catch the stuff you don't want breathing in. Dust, pollen, exhaust particles, road grime, the general airborne soup that's floating around outside your car at any given moment. It catches all of it, traps it, holds it, which means over time, it fills up. And a filter that's full of a year or two, or honestly, in a lot of cars I've seen, 4 or 5 years of a captured garbage, is a filter that air can barely push through anymore. Now think about what it means for your AC. Your system is trying to push a huge volume of air through your vents to cool the cabin. That air has to pass through the filter first. If the filter is 90% blocked, only 10% of the air your system is trying to move actually makes it through. Your blower motor is working flat out. The refrigerant is doing its job. The compressor is spinning. And the result coming out of your vents is a feeble, slightly cool whisper instead of the blast of cold air you're expecting. And here's the part that really gets me. People live with this for years. They turn the fan up to maximum. They point every vent at their face. They crack the window. They do everything except fix the actual problem because nobody ever sat them down and explained what a cabin air filter is or what it does or that it exists at all. Some cars didn't even have them until the mid-1990s, which frankly explains a lot about what it was like to drive in the 1980s. Allergies? Just drive faster, I guess. But modern cars all have one. And yours almost certainly needs to be changed. How bad can it really get? The numbers. Let me give you a sense of scale here, because I think people hear the word filter and picture something that gets a little gray around the edges, maybe collects some dust, and otherwise just carries on doing its job without complaint. Like a Brita filter, but for your car. A little grimier over time, sure, but basically fine. That is not what happens. Not even close. Here's how a cabin air filter actually works. When it's new, it's engineered to do two things at once. Catch the particles you don't want breathing in, and still let a strong, clean volume of air pass through with minimal resistance. Engineers spend real time balancing those two things because both matter. Too restrictive, and your airflow suffers. Not restrictive enough, and you're just inhaling whatever the car in front of you is putting out. The filter that came in your car was calibrated to let your blower motor do its job properly at full strength without straining. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Testing by automotive engineers has shown that a heavily clogged cabin filter can reduce airflow by anywhere from 40 to over 60% compared to a clean one. Read that again. 60%. That means your AC system, running behind a blocked filter, could be delivering less than half the airflow it was designed to produce. You're running the fan on maximum, pointing every vent at your face, and your system is physically incapable of keeping up because there's a rectangular piece of matted gray debris standing between you and cold air. And it gets worse from there because this is where the decline starts compounding on itself. Your blower motor is now working harder than it was ever meant to. It's fighting the restriction every second it runs, drawing more current, running hotter, wearing faster. That motor was not designed to spend its life pushing air through a clogged filter. Nobody's motor was. Meanwhile, the evaporator coil, which is the part deep inside your dashboard that actually makes the air cold, starts to ice up. This is the part most people never hear about. The evaporator coil needs a steady, strong flow of warm cabin air passing over it to work properly. That airflow is what keeps the coil from getting too cold and freezing. Restrict the airflow, and the coil temperature drops below what it should, and ice starts forming on it. And a coil that's coated in ice is a coil that's delivering even less cold air than before, so the filter gets worse. The airflow drops. The coil ices up. The air coming out of your vents gets warmer and weaker. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you decide your AC must be broken and book it into a shop, where I will mention now and explain properly in a few minutes. There is a very good chance someone will tell you that what you need is a refrigerant top up. That conversation is going to go very differently for you after today. The fix, step by step. All right, here's the part you actually came for. The cabin air filter on most cars lives in one of two places, either behind the glove box, which is by far the most common location, or under the hood, near the base of your windshield, in the fresh air intake. A quick search for your car's make, model, and year plus the words cabin air filter location will show you exactly where yours is in about 30 seconds. Most of them are genuinely that easy to find. For the glove box type, which covers probably 70 or 80% of cars on the road, here's how it goes. Open the glove box. On most cars, there are two side tabs you squeeze inward that let the box drop down further than normal. That exposes a rectangular cover or housing behind it. That cover usually just pulls straight out, or has one or two clips you press. Behind that cover is your filter. Slide it out. Note which direction the airflow arrow is pointing before you pull it, because a new one goes in the same way. Now look at what you just pulled out. If it looks gray, matted, and thick with grime, if you can't really see light through it anymore, if there are leaves in it, and I promise you, there are sometimes leaves in it, that filter has been in there too long, way too long. Take your new filter, line up the airflow arrow the same direction as the old one, slide it in, snap the cover back on, fold the glove box back up. That's it. That's the whole job. No tools required on most cars. Maybe a screwdriver on a few awkward ones. The first time you turn the AC on after doing this and feel the actual blast of cold air come through the vents, you're going to be annoyed that nobody told you about this sooner. That is the correct reaction. Channel it productively. The bonus effect nobody talks about. Here's where it gets interesting, because most people go into this expecting one result: cold air, and they get it. But what they don't expect is everything else that changes at the same time, because a fresh cabin air filter doesn't just fix your AC. It quietly improves almost every single thing your ventilation system touches, and some of those improvements are ones you'd never in a million years connect to a small rectangular filter behind your glove box. Let's go through them. Your blower motor stops straining. This is the one that matters most long term, and it's the one nobody thinks about until it's too late. That motor has been fighting a blocked filter every single time you've turned on the fan. Every commute, every road trip, every time you've cranked the AC on a hot day and wondered why it felt so weak. The motor was working harder than it was designed to, running hotter than it should, drawing more electrical current than the system was built around. Do that for long enough, and motors fail. And I'll be honest with you, a blower motor replacement is not a 5-minute job and is absolutely not a $20 part. A fresh filter means the motor spins freely again, runs at a temperature it was meant to, and lives considerably longer. That alone is worth the price of the filter several times over. Your fuel economy improves. I know. This one sounds like the kind of vague claim that gets thrown around to make a product sound more impressive than it is. But it's real, and the logic is straightforward. Your climate control system draws power from the engine. When the blower motor is fighting resistance, the whole system is working less efficiently, burning more energy to deliver less result. Remove the restriction, and the system does more with less. The improvement isn't dramatic, but it's real and it's permanent for as long as the filter stays clean. Your windows stop fogging up as badly. This is the one that genuinely surprises people, and it's the one nobody ever connects to the filter. A moisture builds up inside your cabin constantly from breathing, from wet clothes, from rain coming in. When you open the door, stronger airflow pushes that moisture out. Weak airflow lets it sit, and sitting moisture fogs glass. Change the filter, restore the airflow, and your windshield clears faster when you need it to. That's not a comfort thing. That's a visibility thing. That's a safety thing. A fogged windshield at the wrong moment is genuinely dangerous. And a $20 filter is a strange but effective way to address it. And then there's the smell. That stale, musty, slightly unpleasant smell that hits you the moment you switch the AC on after it's been sitting. That is your filter. A damp, clogged filter is a perfect environment for mold and bacteria to grow quietly in the dark. Change it, and that smell, in most cases, disappears almost entirely. One part, 5 minutes. Cold air, a healthier motor, better fuel efficiency, clearer windows, and a car that doesn't smell like a gym bag left in the rain. That is an absurd return on a $20 investment, and I will never understand why more people don't do it. The myth. Why people think it's always a refrigerant problem. Now, I want to talk about the mistake that costs people real money every single summer because I've seen it happen too many times, and I want you to go into this completely eyes open. Here's the scenario. Your AC has been getting gradually weaker over the past year or two. You've noticed it getting worse. You finally decide to do something about it. You take it to a shop, or you mention it to someone who knows cars, or you search online, and the answer that comes back is almost always the same. Your system is low on refrigerant. The gas has slowly leaked out. It needs topping up. That'll be $150, cash or card. And since we've already got it on the lift, let's just do a quick check on a few other things while we're in here. And look, I want to be fair about this because I'm not here to tell you that every shop is trying to take your money. Sometimes that diagnosis is completely correct. Refrigerant leaks are real. They happen. Seals fail, fittings corrode, lines develop small cracks over years of heat cycling and vibration. If your AC was working perfectly on a Friday and blowing warm air by Monday with no gradual decline in between, that sudden failure is absolutely worth investigating as a potential leak. Get it looked at. That's the right call. But here is where I need you to pay attention, because this is the part that saves you money. If your AC has been getting gradually, slowly, progressively weaker over a year or two or three, the far more likely cause is not refrigerant. It's airflow restriction, a clogged cabin filter, a dirty condenser, a blower motor that's been straining against resistance for so long it's starting to give up. Things that have absolutely nothing to do with refrigerant, nothing to do with the sealed side of the system, and nothing that requires a $150 service to diagnose or fix. The reason the refrigerant story is so persistent, the reason it's the first thing people reach for is two things working together. First, it sounds technical. It sounds like the kind of problem that requires expertise and equipment to solve, which makes it feel credible. Second, and I'll just say this plainly, refrigerant top ups generate revenue. A cabin air filter that you change yourself in your driveway for $20 generates exactly zero revenue for anybody. A refrigerant service that may or may not have actually been necessary generates $150, and then another $150 when the system is mysteriously low again 2 summers later, because nobody found or fixed the leak that caused it in the first place. Which brings me to the thing I most want you to remember from this entire video. A properly functioning, properly sealed AC system does not use up refrigerant. It is a closed loop. The refrigerant goes around and around and around. It does not get consumed. It does not slowly disappear through normal use. If your system is low on refrigerant, something has leaked, and the correct response to a leak is to find it, fix it, and then recharge the system. Not to top it up, cross your fingers, and come back next year. Topping up a leaking system without fixing the leak is exactly like bailing water out of a boat with a hole in the bottom. You'll be bailing again next summer, and the summer after that, until eventually the leak gets worse, or the compressor gets damaged running low. And now you're looking at a repair that makes the original top-up fee look like a rounding error. So here's what I want you to do. Before you book a refrigerant service for a gradually weakening AC, spend $20 on a cabin air filter and change it yourself. Feel the difference, because I will bet you, genuinely bet you, that in a significant number of cases, that filter is the entire story, and the refrigerant was never the problem at all. How long does it last and when do you change it? The standard answer you'll find in most owners' manuals is somewhere between 12,000 and 15,000 miles, or roughly once a year if you're driving them a normal amount. Here's the honest version of that answer. The manual interval was written for a car driving mostly on clean, dry roads in moderate conditions. If you live somewhere dusty, if you drive a lot of unpaved roads, if you're in a city with heavy traffic and exhaust fumes, if you park under trees, your filter is collecting far more per mile than the manual assumes. In those conditions, you might need a new one every 6 months. The other honest thing is that most people do not change it on schedule at all. They change it when someone tells them to, or when they read a video like this one, or when the AC has already been weak for a full summer and they're finally looking for answers. Which means in the real world, most filters are running 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 years beyond when they should have been swapped. The check itself could not be simpler. Pull the filter out and look at it. Hold it up to a light source. If light passes through it reasonably clearly, it's got life left. If it's matted gray and you can't see through it, it's done. If it's damp or smells musty, it's done. And it may have been growing things you don't want to think about too hard. There is no special equipment needed, no diagnostic tool, no mechanic required. Just pull it, look at it, and be honest with yourself about what you're looking at. This is one of those rare car maintenance checks where your own eyes give you all the data you need. And while you are in there, just note the brand and part number of the old filter. Any auto parts store will cross-reference it to the right replacement in about 30 seconds. In a lot of cases, you can order one online for considerably less than the shop price for the same filter in a different box. So, there it is. The one simple trick that makes your AC blow twice as cold is not a trick at all. It's a $20 filter in 5 minutes in your driveway. The haze on your AC performance is your cabin air filter slowly strangling your system. And the reason it gets ignored is because nobody tells you it's there. Nobody tells you what it does. And there's no warning light that comes on when it's due. Your car just quietly gets less comfortable while you sit there assuming it's something expensive. Change the filter. Feel the difference. And if you've never changed yours before, go look up where it lives on your car tonight. I genuinely think there's a better than even chance that what's in there right now is going to make you wince. Here's what I want from you. Go check yours. Come back and drop a comment telling me how long it have been in there because I want to know. The record I've heard about personally was 7 years and looked like a small mammal had attempted to move it in. I'm not judging. I'm just saying we can do better. If this saved you a shop visit, subscribe, because the next one is about the cooling system mistakes that quietly lead to overheating, including the one simple check that takes 30 seconds and could save your engine this summer. $20. 5 minutes. Cold air. That's the whole secret. And almost none of it costs a thing.